Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms, a podcast where the mystical meets the everyday. Join Amanda Nova and Beth Renov each week as we dive into the profound journey of awakening, sharing our experiences, insights, and the lessons that guide us toward our divine purpose. Together, we awaken and guide our souls and others, exploring the magic of living in the 3D while staying connected to the higher realms, embracing the challenges, and celebrating the growth. You've been guided here for a reason. Trust in the journey and let the unfolding begin.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversations in Between the Realms. I'm Amanda Nova and I'm here as always with Beth Renov, and we are going to be chatting today about the throat. We're going to be talking about authenticity and the truth and people speaking their truth. We're going to be talking about people speaking out. And yeah, before we get into it, how are you feeling? Are we better this week than we usually are? How are we doing?
We are top notch. I had a 90-minute massage yesterday and it was wonderful. And this is the place I sent you for your jewelry. Like, it is like Amanda Central.
Oh, I would love to get a massage. I don't even remember the last time I had a massage. Oh, I love it so much.
I got a gift certificate for my birthday.
Wow.
And I was like, we're going to capitalize on that immediately. But she was literally like, your back is like a board. She's like, how do you walk? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, you're really, really tight. Wow. So it was like painful, but like the good pain. Yeah. And it felt like so much released. And like after, I was just like so loopy and felt amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, it's funny because I've been spending so much time, as you know, like it locked into this like just study and all of this about how much we store in our tissue. And I just think it's so fascinating about how we like, you know, the stories, the trauma, like everything that we store within our muscles, our tissue, our bones, our blood, like all of it's in the body. So like, you know, I think when we get massage, like, you know, as you're saying, like, you know, it tightens around those things. And then when we loosen it up, it's like, then it's like free flowing and it's kind of out there. And I think it's like also why a lot of people cry after they get massages.
Right. And like the visual I had is like it tightens because it like holds on because it like wants to stay there, but then the like massage like rips it out and you're like, oh my God, someone's not like clawing onto me anymore.
Yeah well, it does, it tightens around it. It's so funny because I'm like, as you're saying this, like right, like one of the like folders, like, or whatever they're called, like windows behind us right now is like an article that I'm writing that's literally like, why does our body hold on to trauma?
Oh my
grips onto it because our muscles and our fascia tighten around, like they literally constricts, like our physical body constricts, and we do like hold on to it physically, energetically, and it does get stuck there because of that. So it's like 1000%.
And I like have to think that trauma holds on so tightly because it's part of the trauma response.
Exactly.
Is like you didn't know what to do, or that's however you acted, and you need to like hold on to that to keep safe. And it's just like, no, that was just in the moment. We don't need you anymore, but you're kind of ruining my whole life.
So it's the freeze response. Like it actually gets frozen in time in your body. And so then even if you like mentally move forward, it's still kind of there. Like I think, you know, we even have talked about this before, like with my seizure, like it's still there physically and like it's somewhere in my energy space. So even though I've moved on from it, it's still kind of like there and things will kind of trigger it. So I think that happens to people all the time in their energy and like their physical body. And it's part of the stress response, part of the trauma response. So much more to come on that.
That is like intergenerational trauma, right? Is that they didn't have good massages back then.
Yeah, I mean, we should do a whole episode. I mean, when we were talking before this about themes, this is what we
Yeah.
probably should have been talking about. We should
Should
do a
have
whole
been.
episode on
Right.
this, and we definitely can, because I'm literally writing like a lot on this right now. More to come.
Next episode. I had to say that. I couldn't help. I'm getting like dad joke like vibes this whole like month. I don't know why. I've just been in like a dad joke kind of era. So it's
Oh my
coming.
goodness. Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, so we will talk about it. We definitely will get there. A lot more to come with that.
Yeah.
But, just kind of, digging into the communication piece, I think will be a little bit educational, I think, for me as well. Like I think Beth is more, you're more of the idea of like, people are out there sharing their truth. I feel a little bit like, I don't know, I'm a little bit less trusting of the world. And so I think this is like a little bit interesting, because like I really want to hear your perspective on just, yeah, the way the world is communicating in the throat chakra right now, because I feel like I'm like a little bit more nervous about it than you are.
Because I've seen what feeling censored, like, and actually that has been the thing that's come up this week, which is so funny, is self-censorship, right? Like, I think we've been censored on a mass level because we got very PC, right?
Yeah.
And for a good reason. And then it's always in good reason that like we get like we either swing one way or the other, like, but we swing way too far. We're never calibrating to like the center where it's just like
Right.
normal and we should treat people with respect. But like we
Right.
went from being like super racist to policing speech,
Right.
and having this moral, almost like you're a good person if you're this way, right? Like if you're extremely PC, if you like, and you can't differ or have another opinion about what that like good person is, what that moral superiority is, right? So I think people for the past 10-15 years have felt very censored because no one wanted to offend anyone. And I think that feelings over facts kind of has taken place. And we should absolutely respect people's feelings, but that doesn't take precedence over facts, right? And I think we're in an era where facts and truth, not my truth, but the truth, is
Yeah.
coming back in fashion. And you're gonna have to offend people. And I
Right.
think we're seeing that recalibration. And I hope we don't go the other way where it's just like be fucking nasty and
Right.
horrible towards people.
Right.
But I think there is somewhere in the middle where it's like you might have to feel offended and deal with those emotions. It's like either
Right.
way, you're not dealing with the emotions. Why do you hate someone so much and think you can
Right.
just talk about that? What are you avoiding? And on the other side, what are you avoiding? If the truth is the truth, why can't someone
Right.
argue with it? And I am seeing like that. I have seen like like if the world was one, like a body, the
Yeah.
throat chakra had a block, the heart chakra had a block. And I see them, they're not off, but they're starting to like peel back.
Right.
And a few months ago, I wrote that Substack about the mask peeling off, right? You're starting to see people's true colors in
Yeah.
terms of who they really are,
Yeah.
if they're fake. And I think that is part of the truth coming out. But I think people are starting to call that out more. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm seeing. But I've always been someone who sought out the truth when it's very unpopular.
Yeah.
So now I'm seeing people who weren't the like early adopters or early adopters. I'm seeing regular people start to speak out. And for me, that's a good sign, right?
Yeah. I think you're 100% right. I think you're 100% accurate. I think that in the way that you're now, as you're explaining it to me that way, like I totally see what you're saying. Like I think yes, and it's coming to the surface. I was looking at it as like more of like on a micro level of like, because that's happening. Okay. So like the way I'm looking at it is like, okay, Now the mask is being revealed. All of these people are awakening, right? So now people
Mm-hmm.
are waking up. They cannot hide anymore. Now there's so many people, and especially the people listening here, who now are like, okay, I cannot go back to sleep. I cannot continue living the life that I am living, right? Like we've talked about this before. So many of the people that come to see me and you are people that have had like some sort of awakening and then they can't continue on with their day-to-day life, right? So now people don't want to go to their like, back to their regular jobs or their regular life, and they want to do something bigger. They want to be a part of of their purpose, be a part of doing something more, live their mission, live their purpose, etc., right? And I'm finding that a lot of them are coming up against blocks of living out their true purpose. And that's where I'm seeing in the throat chakra on a personal level for people where they're like, they really want to, and they're like there, but there's still a little bit of this fear of like, I'm going to be seen as a freak. I'm going to be persecuted for like saying this. And I think the truth to your point is like, influencers are being, like they're all of the fakeness is being ripped apart and it's done. But I think that there's still that fear, that's that deep, deep wound, that deep, deep witch wound of like, if I go and I work in my purpose and I really speak out, am I going to hurt my family? Am I going to hurt myself? That's what I feel. Do you feel like that's like going away?
See, I think the opposite of what you think. Um, so
Of course, I just come from
uh,
my anxiety is deep. I still think I'm being burned at the stake.
it's not that, no. My approach to it is different than yours, or perspective on it is different. The fact that they can feel afraid right now of speaking out shows me there's progress. Because before, it wasn't even an option, it wasn't even a thought in their head. And if
Sure.
it was like a blip, right?
Yeah.
So that shows me the mask is coming off, the block is coming off. It's not fully off. And this is so disgusting, but I almost mean it like a scab, and they're like picking it. It's not
Yeah.
fully off, so the blood can't like come through. And that's a really disgusting image, but that's just what came to my head.
Channeling scabs today, everybody. This is what we're channeling,
scabs.
wounds. Which wound is a
Right.
scab?
But it's a breaking in period. You and I
Mhm.
had this too. We were afraid to tell people what we did.
Yeah.
But that shows me they're on the right path.
Mhm.
Something has shifted that they're even thinking about that. Because
Yeah.
if you think of the stages of action, there's the pre-contemplation, there's the contemplation. They're in the contemplation phase.
Mhm.
And the next step is action. So for
Right.
me, I see forward progress. And that's just like, and what I just said, whatever people's feelings are, they have to deal with. Like if someone's offended or disappointed or is judgmental, that's on them. And most judgment is just discomfort of the unknown, right?
Right.
And so we are in an era where you're going to have to deal with your feelings, is how I feel.
Right.
So, and the same for people who are afraid to speak out, deal with it,
Mhm.
not to be like harsh, but you are going to feel so much better when you get through that hump. And not that there aren't going to be little bits of it that come through and are like, ooh, this feels weird. I still feel weird telling people what I do, but I do it, and
Yeah.
it's so unknown, unfamiliar, and not
Mhm.
comfortable. And I think what you're saying is
Mhm.
they're just uncomfortable right now,
Yeah.
and they're in the fear.
Yeah. And I think that that's right. Dead on. And I fully can see like that that is happening, and the trajectory is you do get beyond that, you do get more comfortable, you do get grounded in what you do. And one of the things early on that I had read along this journey and has been one of my largest challenges, and I read this of Rebecca Campbell in one of her books, has like a whole chapter on like, not everybody's going to like you. People are not going to like you. That has been such a hard thing for me to overcome, as you know. Like, I really struggle with criticism, really struggle with
Mm-hmm.
negativity. And I used to get like I mean, it took a long time. Like I would get a negative comment or a negative, like anything. Like I still sometimes, like if somebody doesn't like one of like my products or something, I like totally lose
Mhm.
my mind. But as you step into your truth and your authenticity, I think to your point, like people are going to judge you, they're going to have opinions. That is just part of it. And I think that it's also part of being your higher self. Like the more that you step into the big shoes that you want to fill, the more that you have to accept that those things are going to happen. If you want to live your truth, not everybody's going to be okay with your truth. And if everybody is okay with it, then are you really being authentic? Are you really like if you're trying to make everybody comfortable, is that being real?
No, and it's a trauma response. It's people
Right.
pleasing.
Right.
But I also just want to say it's happening anyway. You're just doing something that's not authentically you. There's no one everybody likes. There's no one everybody agrees with. There's no one that makes everybody else comfortable. We don't know what people feel. It's just in this case, people feel more outspoken to be like you're nuts because it's not
Right.
conventional.
Right.
So it's happening already. You've already experienced it. How did you deal with it? Or maybe you just weren't aware with it, but there have definitely been times like people have not agreed with you and you've dealt with it. You're fine. You're
Yeah.
whole, So you're going to be okay with this too. It's not the exception.
Right, right, totally. And I mean, I think we're living in a world where people have opinions on everything, and I think that it
Hmm.
is a little bit over the top. I saw something yesterday on TikTok. I am super into TikTok, by the way, guys. I'm really, really late to the game, but I am on Book Talk, so I am on like the side of TikTok that talks about like romantasy, fantasy books, smutty dragon and fairy
Hmm.
books, okay? But I saw somebody posted something, one of the like Mormon moms from, do you watch that show? House of or Mormons or
No.
whatever the hell. Okay, anyway. The Mormon housewives. Anyway, what she was like in underwear or something, and somebody posted, we're getting way too comfortable on this app. Or something like we're sharing, like we're getting way too comfortable. And I was laughing and I was like, it's so true. Like we are having opinions on everything. Like you can't do anything without somebody saying something. Like people have opinions about like you walk down the street, like your neighborhood, there's opinions. My camera in front my front door, there's opinion. Like there's opinions and comments on everything. So I do feel like the more that you put yourself out there too, the expectation has to be that like people are going to say things. They might not always be positive things.
And, I mean, my wife went to go pick up my dog at daycare, and someone had a problem that she didn't get out of the car to wait for him, like, fast enough. It's just like there's always going to be something to
Can.
your point, you know? But I would also argue that in this case, a lot of it is self judgment because we
Mhm.
internalize what, like, is right or wrong from society, right? And you stepping out of that, I think you're more scared of probably how you feel about yourself rather than what other people do.
Right.
Because if you're not okay inside with like what you're doing, and I will say that was my case, like I was probably judging myself so hard
Mhm.
and I externalized it because it was easier to blame other people than me as my block. Right.
Right.
Well, other people are going too. That's really scary. What's even scarier is if you don't feel good about yourself and what you're doing and you're not used
Right.
to being in that like body yet, this like higher
Right.
version of yourself.
Right. Do you feel like the collective shift that's coming in is coming from a place of people just being fed up, like they just can't take anymore? Is
Mhm.
that what you feel like? Like it's just like people are just like, I
Yeah.
can't handle any more of this fakeness. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
fucked up for a pretty long time, I think, collect on a
Right.
world scale.
Right. I mean, there's a reason there's a saying the truth always prevails, right? Because like fakeness can only last so long because it doesn't have any substance, right? So, and I think it's that even some of the people who were fake, they started to believe their lies, but there was nothing to grab onto. So that's why it's crumbling and collapsing. That's why these
Yeah.
like influencers, like who aren't real, like all these
Mm-hmm.
people's true colors are coming through. And I have to also, and this was my question to you,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how the Schumann resonance has been in the past, but we have had crazy kind of energy spikes
Yeah.
the past year. I'm not
Yeah.
sure it's been like that in the past. That has to have something to
Mm-hmm.
do with this because it has ungrounded some people
Yeah.
in a good way. I feel like we were cemented in like to just obey and be really
Yep.
submissive. And I feel
Yeah.
like something with the energy like plucked people out and they're like, oh my God, I can walk on my own. I could do what I want. And all of a sudden they have a new perspective of the world because they're not
Mm-hmm.
seeing it from this vantage point.
Yeah. Well, I really believe that there was a massive split. Like when we were talking about this last year, I mean, to New Earth, that split to New Earth that occurred, I really believe that something along those lines did happen. A timeline shift. Like, I don't know if the world split off into two and some people went.
Right.
I don't know. Okay. I mean, who knows? There's so many things that are happening, but there's so many timelines, so many different things all happening at one time. But I will say that the noticeable shift that I felt was around the election. This has nothing to do with politics. There was a noticeable shift that happened around the time of the election last November. And ever since then, the Schumann resonance has been insane. Everything energetically has been insane. People have been saying they physically felt crazy, energetically felt crazy. Like things have been off the charts wild. And again, not necessarily politically,
Right.
energetically, like a shift. And
Right.
I don't think that it's always been that way. I think that like we are in a massively different timeline right now than we were.
Yeah. We are in uncharted territory is how I feel. But I think it's really only scary because we don't know what to expect. I really feel like in my gut it's good. And we might hit like a giant wave before it turns really good. But I do think that that wave is going to clear out what's not supposed to be there, and that's not comfortable. We're not at land yet, so it's going to feel bumpy, it's going to feel a little bit scary, you're going to feel unsure of how things are going to pan out, but ultimately you'll reach land. So I think it's just, and I think we talked about this, it's having faith. That faith and hope. And I loved what I've seen in the past week. Hope is the precursor to faith, right? So it's all about having hope in this time of uncertainty. And hope is believing in yourself and that it's going to be okay. Hope is believing that I will get through the judgment when or if it appears, right? So the way to have hope is to start to speak your truth, and the faith will come when you are okay after you do that.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that there really is this collective awakening happening as we've talked about. And I think that that also helps because you're not in this alone. Like that's the whole thing. Like there are so many people. I mean, every person that I've seen lately, like anyone that's come to me has received a message from their guides, from their soul family that's like you have to wake up now. You can't. I had somebody yesterday, a friend of mine actually, and their guides were like you cannot keep your head buried in the sand. Like you
Mm-hmm.
cannot live like this. Like you have to wake up, open your eyes. It's the time is now. And that's on a micro level. Like, you and I can only talk to so many people. That's why we have social media, thankfully, to spread the light. That's why I have Frequency RX to get to as many people as possible. And we hope all of you listening reach people, and we reach people, and we reach people, because the more of us that share our truth, that share our light, we are helping more people to awaken, to raise the vibration, raise it, because that's what's needed right now, you know?
Right. Absolutely. And the more people who have their heads out of the sand, or as my client likes to call it, ostriching.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that mean? But I love that. Take your head out of the sand. You're not, you can see I'm not alone. You can't see that
Mhm.
if your head's buried. So there
Mhm.
is so much that comes. And as people take their heads out, they can tap the next person and be like, hey, it's okay. I'm up here. We're
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it's like a domino effect that's happening. And that's why you're starting to see this shift. Like it's really a domino effect. And I don't know if it was necessarily one person, but it was a bunch of people who just woke up. And that's why I'm hopeful. That's why I'm
Yeah.
seeing something positive out of it, is because, yeah, it's not mainstream yet,
Yeah.
but good things aren't only when they're mainstream. It's
Mhm.
it's at the beginnings when you start to see like the shifts and people doing something different than they did. It could tell you about what's to come.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I would say too, I think that a lot of this was happening because of COVID. I think that was really the rise of the
Oh yeah.
influencers. That was really the rise
Mm-hmm.
of this sort of veil that was put over all of us, where we were separated from each other, where the rise
Mm-hmm.
of the fake of the influencer, I mean, a lot of the influencers became famous during that time, where they were like doing videos of just like, I don't know, standing on their head, and became famous for literally like nothing, right? And
Right.
I believe now that it's also falling because people are craving that connection. They're craving
Yes.
that just closeness. And so I think too, just it's just coming through to say to all of you who are listening, if you are needing that connection, yes, you have us, you can, come anytime, but also try to see what's in your community. Is there a yoga studio? Is there a place nearby that you can go and connect? Because I do think that there's also these resources that we don't even realize that we have. And I think that like our communities around us need to be built up too, because I think there's something there as well that we're missing, that in-person closeness.
Right. Absolutely. And we need it. Like we totally abandoned that when COVID happened.
Mhm.
But I'm wondering too if there's a disconnect with the self. Because
Mhm.
it always starts from within. So if
Yeah.
you're not connected to yourself, and that often happens when you're in a spiritual awakening, you feel really like unsure and a little bit crazy and kind of ungrounded. So start there. And like, I think the problem is people don't even know what their community would look like. And if that's starting to figure out, what do I like to do? Go back to childhood. What were the things that I like to do? What are hobbies I can do? Because then it like branches out to be like, okay, then I can go meet people doing it. If you don't know,
Yeah, that's fair.
and I think that social media was, and I will say for some of these influencers who got big, you did do a really big service during COVID because we were kind of like lost. We needed something, right? So
Mhm.
you served a purpose, but like what's needed constantly is changing and you're not needed in the same way. And the people who are fake and just profiting off of people's doom, I think the masks are coming off. But people who are genuinely like trying to help or out there, like you did serve a perfect purpose, but maybe you need a pivot, and maybe that's part of this awakening too. And this throat chakra is like, what is your truth? And you might
Mhm.
need to figure that out as well. It's not just people like out there who don't have a following. Like it's
Right.
everybody. I think it hits
Oh yeah.
everything.
No, it's everybody. And I think those people are shifting as well. You see a lot of people who
Yeah.
are, I mean, I have a large following. I didn't get famous
Right.
for, I mean, I'm not famous. Oh, famous. But I didn't get that large following from standing on my head. I got it from helping people,
Right.
but I also noticed that had to shift and in making a pivot. And I feel like a lot of people are feeling that way. It's amazing to reach all these people and to be able to have a platform to do that. And I continue to utilize that to help as many people as possible. But there needs to be that deeper connection. The podcast where you can hear our voices, where we can speak to you, one-on-ones where we can work with you, Frequency RX where I can really share my energy with all of you. So there's deeper layers to all of these things, but I think everybody is looking to really pivot the way that they are approaching things. So I totally agree. I think everybody's really working on that, and I love your perspective of it being more of a positive thing. And,
Yeah.
we'll take it from
I,
there.
and I think, listen, that's like, I feel like that's one of my gifts is I'm very zoomed out. I'm really, and this is why I think I kind of like mismatch with so many people is because I don't really, yes, I can see detail and I could see the micro, but I see the macro so clear. Like I could always see what's going to happen in like 5, 10 years, like I see trends and collectively. And I just see this as like a breath of fresh air. It's like, we're not going to like what everybody is saying. And I'm not going to pretend like it's all good. But the fact that we can say it is really great. I think there is political violence for a reason because we need to come together and be like, that's not okay. We need to be able to
Right.
speak. So even though it's horrible and we're seeing such horrible things, I think that is the motivating thing that most of us, and I really do believe most of us, do not think that's okay. And we
Right.
have to stand our ground and be like, we cannot censor people in this way. People should not die for what they believe or what they
Right.
say,
Right.
you know?
100%.
So
That's
I
scary
think that
too. I
is,
mean,
it's terrifying. But this goes back to happiness and good things aren't always just easygoing.
right.
You fight for freedom. You fight for good things. And the
Yeah.
fight is not smooth sailing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much at stake. I think that that's also part of it. Like there's really so much more at stake, and it's so much deeper than social media. It's deeper than all
Yeah.
of these things. And I think that that's, also part of it. And I really admire your ability to step back and be able to see all of that. And I think as people who are empathetic and people who feel all of the energy and all the people who are listening, like I really think that also becomes a struggle because you're trying to process everything happening all at one time, and as you're going through your spiritual awakening you're like processing all of these things. So
Right.
as I always say, if you are struggling through any of this, all of this, come see us. That's why
Hmm.
we are here. We're happy to help you along on your journey, or at least give you some resources to figure out what's next for you.
Absolutely. And in that like vein, like when you aren't in it, and I'm not going to say like I see everything in my own life that way because I'm too close, but when you have someone working with you who's outside of it, we have the zoomed out perspective,
Mhm.
right? So that's why we're able to help you so much because we're not in the trenches with you. We're on the other side, like trying to like help you
Yeah.
and can see the battlefield.
Mhm.
So, and not just on earth, but like cosmically. I think that's why we have such an amazing ability to help people in such a different way. So you might be struggling. We're here to be like, hey, we see over here, we can
Mhm.
really help you. Or in this realm, we got
Right.
things going on that you can't see. So, like, we are here to help you. We are here to have a perspective that maybe you didn't see that could really shift things for you. And if you are scared, to Amanda's point right now, that is totally valid. But I have this really gut feeling that it's for a good purpose. So don't freak out. Let's try to have hope and faith and hit us up if you need support and help. We are here, and we will see you for the next episode.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks.